Good morning, students. Welcome to YOIS News Analysis of 29 June 2026. In today's class, we will see some of the important articles that are given in the Hindu newspaper. So, let's get started. So, the first article what we are going to see today is smart AI catching can keep the data flowing when the disaster strikes. In the recent news analysis, we have discussed about the applications of AI in weather prediction. So, in the same way, this article highlights the application of AI in order to mitigate the devastating effects after the disaster and also before the disaster. So let's get into the basic core idea that is explaining how we can use artificial intelligence with respect to disaster management. So the article is mentioning that whenever a disaster strikes, so there needs to be some sort of information. Let's say some flood has been occurring from higher areas to lower areas where here houses are being concentrated. Now, in the case of cloudburst or some kind of excessive rainfall, sudden rainfall occur and sudden disasters can happen, which has working effects on the life of the human. So, in this perspective, the role of the workers and especially disaster management team plays a major role. But there are many issues for them in order to handle the disaster very effectively. Let's say, for example, it is unable to track the persons for where, like in that which place they have been struck down. Okay, so it is very difficult to track, and also it is very difficult for the mobility of the disaster workers because of that particular disaster, and it is very difficult to transmit the data. Because in the case of the disaster, the first and foremost thing what happens is that failure of the communication technology. Okay, so in that particular scenarios, these three things becomes difficult for a disaster management. So this article is promoting, or it is giving us the idea of what to do in case of a disaster by overcoming these three obstacles. So the first thing what it is telling is that, so let's see what is the basic idea behind this. Okay, so the basic idea is that it is mentioning about some three ways of model. That is collaborative network with respect to ground, air and space. So see, this term is called Space Air Ground Integrated Network. SAGIN, Space Air Ground Integrated Network. Okay, so at the space level, satellites are being worked in order to collect the data. At the air level, drones are being deployed in order to identify the present condition that is being happening. And along with this, at the ground level, disaster workers and also communication protocols are being taken place. So, by integrating these three things called as SAGIN, Space Air Ground Integration Network, it will be very easy in order to transmit the data very quickly. Let's say, for example, here the author is being mentioned about some of the things. The pictures that are being taken before the 10 10 minutes, or let's say before 10 minutes of the occurrence of disaster is very, very important when compared to taking the pictures which are having previously. Okay, so this is the first thing what it is telling. And here one more feature of this particular thing is latency is very low. Latency means the speed. Okay, so what is the meaning of latency is that reduction of speed. So how much time it will take for the spread of the information. So this particular latency is very low, which is the major feature of this particular system. And one more thing is that it is highlighting a term called collaborative caching. Collaborative caching. So it means that the information is transmitted in the form of node to node. So various nodes are connected to one another where information will be transmitted very quickly. So even in the case of failures of all the things like communication during a disaster, this information is stored in the cache memory, which is not a permanent memory. So it is a temporary memory and the information is stored in this particular cache, and this can be transmitted from one network to one node to another node, which has a major scope for highlighting and also making people aware of that particular disaster. Let's say for example, as I already told you, the pictures of last 10 minutes is very important before finding out or before mitigating a disaster. Let's say for example, in the last 10 minutes, let's say in the last 5 minutes or 10 minutes, sending the alert messages. Sending the alert messages is also one of the future because the teams are deployed. Let's say how the teams are deployed because it uses the artificial intelligence and collects the data in beforehand, because there are some places that are frequently prone to some kind of disaster. Let's say for example, in the Himalayan region, it is easily prone to earthquakes because of the nature of the soil and the landform. Now the thing is that by analyzing the data and collecting the historical data from many days, many years, it is very easy to predict the disaster based on uses of artificial intelligence. So once the disaster has been discovered, it is very easy in order to spread the information by using the cache memory, collaborative cache, where information is transmitted from one node to another node, and even in case of failures of one node, other nodes will work. So it will be very easy in order to deploy this SAGIN. Okay, space, air, ground interface network, integrated network. It is very easy to deploy this particular technology in order to handle a disaster. Let's say some disaster has been occurred today, and after 10 years, another disaster has been occurred. So artificial intelligence has the previous record of the data, like the mode of operation of that particular disaster, like the havoc that has been caused by this particular disaster, and the methodology that the persons or the government has used in order to reduce the effects of the disaster. All these things are being stored, and it works on the integrated network. So this is what you need to be learned from this particular article. Now, see, as I told you, the person is highlighting the importance of time-dependent actionable data. Means in the last time of the last 10 minutes or the crucial important time of the occurrence of the disaster. Okay, so this is what you need to learn from this particular article. So especially this is used in the GS3, like SNT questions, where you can use these terms like collaborative caching and also this SAGIN and contextual multi-armed bandit, means the mechanism, how it works. All these terms, try to make it learn. Let's say federated learning. So try to note down these 4 kinds of terms, and also main important thing is remember this sagging. Remember this particular sagging for the mains point of view. Now, what we should learn in the prelims point of view and also in the mains point of view is that, so in the prelims point of view, there is a scope for asking of the question with respect to what is meant by sagging and applications where it is being used. Okay, and also they may ask you structure of NDRF. National Disaster Response Force with respect to National Disaster Management Act, which consists of 3 levels: NDRF, SDRF and regional RDRF. So, this is important for the prelims point of view, where NDMA is one of the non-constitutional body which you need to study in the polity. Okay, this you need to study in the GS2 perspective. Now, in the mains point of view, you can use it in the GS3, where applications of artificial intelligence, okay, applications of artificial intelligence and applications of drone technology, application of drone technology, where there are frequent questions with respect to drones, where drones are being used to conduct illicit activities like drugs, import of drugs into the country, or import of weapons, harmful weapons into the country. So, in this particular perspective, you can use the positive aspect of usage of drones in order to mitigate the particular disaster. And this can also be used with respect to improvement or artificial intelligence applications, especially in the disaster management. So, in GS3, try to use this thing at the disaster management answer writing, and also note down these 2 terms which are very, very important. One is sagging and another one is collaborative catching, which is used for the fast processing of the data. So, this is what we should learn from this particular article. Now, let's move on to next article. So, the next article is mentioning about India and UK trade relations. As we all know that India and UK are in the way for CETA. CETA means Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement. So, it is one of the free trade agreement that is called as CETA, Comprehensive Economic Trade Agreement. Now, according to this particular agreement, 99% of the goods from India to UK are tax-free. 99% of goods from India to UK are tax-free. And also, similarly, India is also offering the same kind of benefits to UK in order to reduce the taxes and also promote each other relationships and trade relationships. Now, here the main thing is that we need to understand the history. We need to understand the history of the relationships between India and UK. So, India and UK relationships we need to observe. So, according to this, the relationship has started way long before, during the times of 1850s, 1857 First War of Independence, and before that, when advent of Europeans into India, and there is a long struggle from 1857 to 1947. This is called as era of independence. So, after this, what happens is that differences has been occurred between UK and India's ideologies. So, India has aligned with Russia. India has aligned with USSR especially, and UK has aligned with USA. Okay, so the basic ideologies of these 2 countries differ. This is the one more distinctive feature between India and USA. Now, what happens is that in 2004, a strategic partnership deal has been taken between India and the UK, which holds a very, very important significance between both the countries. With this, we have started development of relationships, and that is continuing still today, where we agree to the point of the SETA. But the major thing is that the challenges that are being present. So, what are the challenges that are being present in India and UK relationships is that first and foremost concerning nowadays is that UK's plan to implement carbon border adjustment tax of European Union in 2027. If this tax has been started implementation, now the various products that are being exported to UK from India will be having higher imposition of tax because of this carbon tax. Okay, now the major thing is disadvantage, and one more disadvantage of this particular thing is that UK is backing support to Pakistan, and also in history UK supported Pakistan than India. This is one more thing. As I already told you, ideology difference already is existing. And one more thing is that Chinese factor is almost existing. Now remember one more point. While you are writing the relations between India and other countries, always remember the point of this Chinese factor exists everywhere in most of the cases, because China is the country that always try to interfere where India is developing more. So for this reason, try to highlight the Chinese factor also. And along with that, anti-India sentiments that has been gained prominence in the UK. Anti-India sentiments. So these are some of the challenges that has been existing with respect to India and the UK, and this is the historical relationship between India and UK. But now what happens is that now trade deal, this particular SETA has been taken place, and this SETA has some of the futures where, as I already told you, 99% of the products from India to UK are being made tax-free. But it is not free from the challenges. So that is the reason why some cautions has been taken. Let's say, for example, India's one of the sensitive sector is the dairy sector. So India has protected its dairy sector, whereas UK also protected some of its core sectors, core industrial sectors. It has protected these sectors also. So the thing is that we have made the trade deal, but we are also considering about the sensitive sectors that are being present in India, which acts as livelihood for many number of people. Okay, so this is the major glimpse of the article, what it is telling. So the thing is, why this article present is that because of the SETA deal, and you need to know about the history of the relationships and the challenges and the cautions that Indian government and UK government has taken before having this particular deal. And one more thing is that diaspora is acting as a bridge between India and UK. Many number of Indian students goes to UK, so diaspora is acting as a bridge in developing the trade relationships between both the countries. Now, see what words you can use. Or first let's see, here it is mentioning about around regarding 30 chapters in 30 sectors, and it paves a way with it can compete more effectively with cheaper imports. This is one of the advantage, and one more advantage is the development of MSMEs. Okay, so these are the two points where you can include in your answer. Now, the major thing is that here use the words like diplomatic win. See, while using this word called diplomatic win, it is not specific only to use for India-UK deals. You can also use this particular word whenever any question has came in the IR. So you can use this word called diplomatic win. And one more thing is that try to use this sentence. This is a transformational and it is also just a beginning. So whenever any two countries are newly developing their relationships or in the way of like a transition stage of developing the relationships, try to use this particular word called, this is a transformational and also it's just beginning of the relationships. Okay, so there is a lot of more way to go ahead, and try to use this word as a conclusion. It sets a template for what modern trade agreements should look like. Pro-growth, pro-worker, pro-innovation. Pro-growth, pro-worker and pro-innovation. Try to remember this particular type of conclusions. So whenever a question has came for you on India and the UK relationships, try to mention this 3P network. Okay, this 3P formula can be used directly. And here one more word is that red tape. Red tape. While you are writing your answers, this word called red tape holds very important significance. Why? Because red tape is nothing but delay in the process. So this trade deal will reduce the red tape. So this is one of the important factor for improving the governance in the particular country. So this is what we should learn from this particular article, that is history of the India and UK relationship since ages and the conditions especially after Brexit, and also the futures and the importance and benefits of this CETA deal, and also what are the challenges that are being present with respect to India and the UK relationships, and try to use this particular 3 words, diplomatic win and this sentence of transformational and this conclusion. So this is what you should learn from this particular article. Now let's move on to next. One more thing. So in this article, from the prelims point of view, what to need. So from the prelims point of view, what you need to read or understand is that Brexit, when, why, stages, and also with respect to mapping. With respect to mapping, you need to clearly identify straits like English Channel, okay, North Channel. So you need to identify the straits and also the bordering countries to UK. Okay, bordering countries to UK. This is what you should learn from the prelims point of view. And from the mains point of view, you should learn the history of the relationships between India and UK, and also challenges and new CETA deal and occurrence of new opportunities because of this particular deal. This is what you should learn from this particular article in prelims and the mains point of view. Now let's move on to next article. Next article for today is the new digital slavery needs constitution guardrails. Here, this particular article is important only for this particular term. This term is called as digital slavery. Digital slavery. So this is very, very, very important point where you can use it in many answers, many of your answers. Let's say for example, development of technology, one of the negative is digital slavery, where humans are becoming slaves to particular digital networks. And also you can use it where harmful effects of development of all network, let's say Wi-Fi, all these things, because if you take the condition of India itself, before the advent of Jio, like the usage of digital data, digital networks, mobile phones is very low when compared to the present situation. So slowly, these technologies have made humans as slaves. So that particular context is called as the digital slavery, where humans' dignity and also human morality is given less importance when compared to digital laws and digital usage. So this is the main issue that has been highlighted in this particular article. Okay, so it is AI and morality do not observe the same time. Let's say, for example, recently in the 2 days back news analysis, we have discussed about the automatic cars. Okay, automated or self-driving cars. At that point of time, we discussed about emotional and ethical AI. So you can relate that with the same time where both AI and the morality do not exist at the same time. As a result, human dignity is getting compromised. This is the first thing what you need to learn from this article. And also it is mentioning the subjugation as cruel as human bondage. So in the previous days, in the early days, what happened is that human bondage, where working of the people or labors at the low cost, that is one of the main problem that is faced by the country. But now this digital slavery is subjugating as cruel and more cruel bondage than with respect to the labor bondage. So this is, you can use this particular word also. Now the thing is that especially in the countries, let's say in the countries where democracy, so in the democratized countries where people have freedom in order to use or utilize the laws, it is having worst effect. So since India is one of the largest democratic country in India, and each and every person has right to live, right to freedom of speech and expression as fundamental rights, this digital slavery is getting exploited more and more day by day with respect to country like India. So it is mentioning the same as the world's largest democracy and global technology hub. India stands at absolute epicenter of digital slavery. So you can quote this particular thing directly in the introduction itself. So in the introduction itself, you can highlight the importance of India as the largest democratic country. Now he has given one more example here. Let's say, for example, because of this, the penetration of deepfakes and also fake data has been used in prominence. So he is mentioning that, let's say, in case of votes, so in case of votes, false information and false videos of political parties is having impact on the voter turnout ratio. So this is mentioning one of the field where this particular is used, this particular artificial intelligence is making the worst impacts on the even not only the humans, individuals, but also the political and economic nature of the country. This is what one of the example what he is giving. Now the solutions. Since it is a problem, we have discussed the problem. Now let's discuss the solutions. The main solutions is that, remember one thing, each and every approach must start from the individual level. It does not start at the institutional level. The reform must be started at the individual level. So the individually people should have constraint. Individual constraint. And one more thing is that implementation of strict punishments in case of these deepfakes by implementing certain laws. And also it needs coordination between government, citizens and also various countries in order to reduce the propagation of the false information. Okay, and also here he is highlighting the usage or the role of the educational institutions in highlighting this particular thing and stopping. So you can directly use this particular thing in the ethics point of view. In GS4, you can use, there are some questions in the main topic of the ethics chapter, where what are the, from where sources of ethics, what people should learn, from where people and children will learn. So here you can highlight the educational institutions. Why? Because in the present age, even the newborn baby or the crawling baby, okay, months baby, crawling baby, they are they are very addicted to short videos, everything. So in that particular scenario, you can highlight in ethics paper near the role of the educational institutions is to get forbid of this particular digital slavery. This is what you should learn from this particular article. So I have taken this particular article in order to use this term called digital slavery in your answers. So one of the main problem, and you can also highlight this with respects to suicides, stress, all these things where effective parent control, individual freedom, and also the role of the educational institutions play very, very important role. This is what you should learn, and remember the term called digital slavery. Okay. Now, from the prelims point of view, what you should learn in this particular thing is that in the prelims point of view, nowadays single liner questions are mainly occurring. Now let's say they'll give what is digital slavery, and they will give you 4 options A, B, C, D, and all the 4 are similar, like almost similar, where it is single particular word or some more 2 or 3 words, this definition varies. So try to remember what is meant by digital slavery in a crisp manner, and you can also use the same term for the mains point of view. Mains term also same term, and also you have to remember about the challenges and the solutions at the individual and institutional educational level, and also you can use it in the ethics point of view. Okay, role of the individual in self-constraint and role of the parents and various organizations, and also especially these educational institutions. So this is what you should learn from this particular article in the prelims and the mains point of view. Now let's move on to next article. Next article. How schools can tackle the malnutrition among the adolescents. So one of the major thing is that this article is especially consists of data from National Family Health Survey 6, NFHS 6, and also other things. Now see, the main data that has been highlighted here taken from NFHS 6 is that see, obesity among the women aged 15 to 49 has been risen to 30.7, and in men it has been risen to 27.3. And also this is particular data regarding the obesity. This is particularly data regarding the obesity. Now, this thing is here, one more data has been given regarding the blood sugar. So, regarding the blood sugar among the individuals, how the percentage has been risen among the women and the men. Now, what are the major reasons? So, it has highlighted the major reasons for rise in the obesity and also blood sugar levels, that is sedentary lifestyle. One of the major thing is sedentary lifestyle with no physical work. See, remember, you can highlight the word called humans becoming as digital slaves without having physical work. So you can use that particular word here also. And one more thing is that dietary changes. So changes in the diet, especially fast foods, junk foods, all these things, you can highlight this as a particular thing. Now here this is mentioning that this is causing various metabolic diseases, especially cardiac diseases and many things, and the main route for this will start in the adolescent stage itself. So in the adolescent stage, all these diseases, all these issues like obesity and blood sugar that will have start in that particular age. So we need to stop it in that particular age itself. So this is what most thing given in this particular article. So since their roots or lies in the adolescence, schools are the most critical setting for prevention. So how can schools helps to prevent these kind of malnutrition effects between among the children? So in the previous article also I have highlighted the roles of the schools in order to reduce the humans becoming as slaves of the digital technology. And here also you can use the role of the schools in reducing the adolescent malnutrition, especially in the GS4 article. Now, it is also mentioning about some of the things, let's say sedentary and screen heavy habits that is being inversely associated with the particular healthy lifestyle. Okay, now it is also mentioning that the solutions, the main solutions that has been highlighted here. So the solutions that has been highlighted here is that reduce the digital hours. Digitally active hours must be reduced, and also promote the healthy life campaigns. Healthy life campaigns, and also discourage the use of the beverages like drinks, sugary drinks, they must be discouraged, and also promoting the awareness by using the campaigns. By using the campaigns, these things must be prevented. And also here it has given some of the initiative like let's fix our food initiative. So it is one of the campaign, okay, that has been highlighted where you can quote this particular thing as an example in your answer. Now, the role of the government is that, see, here the role of the government is also being highlighted in the particular solutions, that is evidence-based policy. Evidence-based policy, where the data is already available from the kind of surveys like NFHS. So making proper policy, okay, structuring of proper policy on the basis of evidence is one of the main thing. And along with that, literacy, nutritional literacy. Okay, making people aware of what nutrition should be taken for the healthy life and what nutrition should be prevented. Why? Because India has become one of the major hub for occurrence of these non-communicable diseases. So that must be prevented. And also increasing the tax on unhealthy beverages. So in this perspective, try to link it with in prelims and mains point of view. Prelims and mains point of view. Let's say for example, 35 by 35 initiative of WHO with respect to these things. And also what you need to highlight is that you need to remember, let's say for example, according to NFHS, they may ask the obesity among the women aged between 15 to 49 years is less than 40%. Let's say 40%. Is this right or wrong? Okay, these kind of things what you need to remember from the prelims point of view. And now from the mains point of view, you need to remember the data here, the data facts here, what is given in the answer and in the article, and also the main reasons for occurrence of this particular malnutrition among the adolescents and the role of schools in highlighting this particular problem, and also the solutions with respect to government backed solutions and also individual backed solutions, and try to use those two particular words called double burden. India is facing the double burden of diseases, that is having of undernutrition and also obesity. Both undernutrition and also rise of obesity, both must be discussed as double burden with respect to India. Okay, and also try to remember the word called evidence-based policy. So these are the two particular words which we need to learn from this particular article, and also this is from prelims and the mains point of view. Now let's move on to next article. Next article is, will a survey error threaten the credibility of government schools? So here the particular article is highlighting the amount of fee paid by, especially the amount of fee, tuition fee paid by children in the government schools is more when compared to private schools. This is the main issue that has been highlighted, why the fees charged from the students in the government school is higher than the private school, and in case of error in collection of this particular data. Let's say in earlier days, what is record based evidence is being maintained in order to get correct policy. But now what happens is that in the digital era, the filing of the data has been written on their own without having proper enquiry of the policy. So it is mentioning that will this kind of collecting information improperly will threaten the credibility of the government schools. So this is what is being asked in this particular article, and it is mentioning, and it is also taken data from NSS, National Sample Survey of the India, from where the fees collection has been taken. Here, the main thing is that not only differences exist between government and the private schools, there is also existence of difference in the amount of fees that is collected between the government schools in rural and urban. So this is also one of the difference that is being observed in the fees collected between the rural and the urban areas. So just this article is mentioning about the two things. One is variation of the fees and higher fees collected in the government schools, and here it is concerning that with respect to collection of the data, if this data that is being collected is error, like it is having of error without having proper evidence, this will automatically damage the reputation of the education sector, especially in the government schools. Okay, so this is what mentioned in this particular article, where you can quote. So this article is mainly for the mains point of view. Nothing you need to remember for the prelims point of view from this particular article. So in the mains point of view, especially you can use in the governance perspective. Like without proper evidence-based policy. How it will threaten the reputation of some of the famous and some of the important institutions. So this is what is being highlighted in this particular article. Now let's move on to next article. The next article is treatflation. So this is the term which you need to remember in both the prelims point of view and the mains point of view. So this is mentioning about the role of the, or this is mentioning in the about the corporate ethics. Let's say for example, this term refers to frequent celebration of birthday parties and other kind of parties, gatherings, get-togethers, all these things where some amount of money is being collected. Let's say some 500 is being collected per month from the any employee. So this is the issue. This is the new term that is called treatflation, increase of the cost or burden for the particular person in the name of the treats. Let's say for example, the main issue that is being highlighted is that, so let's discuss this particular article from the ethics point of view. The main ethical dilemma here is that autonomy versus coercion. Autonomy versus coercion is the main issue that has been highlighted. Let's say there are 50 employees in the office. Not all the employees receive the same amount of the salary. Maybe the highest person in the salary receives X percent. Let's say some 1 lakh he is receiving per month, and the lowest level employee receiving 10,000 per month. Okay, and middle employee receiving 25,000, let's say 30,000. So the salary of all the persons is not same. Okay, but each and every person, they has to contribute 500 rupees per month. So this is the where occurrence of difference. Okay, occurrence of difference occurs away from their capability and the capacity. This is one of the issue that has been highlighted. Absence of inclusivity means differences in the amount that is being given. The burden is not same for each and every person is the one of the major issue. And one more issue is that autonomy versus coercion means, let's say I am the person among the 50 employees and all the remaining 49 employees has given, and I am in a situation where I am not able to give or I am not able to contribute that 500 rupees per month, then but I will give that money. Why? Because it is against the others. Against the others, where people will have some negative kind of opinion on you and your financial constraints. So we are donating or we are contributing that particular money by coercion instead of giving it autonomy basis. So this is the major dilemma that is being highlighted, and also it is also mentioning about the corporate work ethics. So the corporate work ethics is also being highlighted in this particular article. So it is mentioning about normative social influence. So the person is contributing on the basis of the social influence. So try to use this particular word, especially with respect to social influence and also corporate ethics. You can use, and also you can use it with some theory called utilitarianism. So in the utilitarianism, what happens is that this is a positive aspect. Why? Because this particular treatflation will help in the overall mental well-being of the corporate workers by making their refreshment, everything. So this money is contributing to the good of the maximum number of people. So it is contributing to the welfare of the maximum number of people. So that is why this is also having positive thing with respect to the utilitarian theory. So this is what you should link with respect to ethics perspective. So what you need to do is that in a prelims point of view, you need to remember as a one-liner what is meant by treatflation, just as a one-liner because of the changing paper pattern. And also in the main point of view, highlight this article with respect to ethical dilemmas, corporate ethics, and also with respect to social influence. So this is what we should learn from this particular article. Okay. This is what important from this particular article. Now let's move on to next article. The next article is over 1,300 excess deaths reported as record heat wave rose Europe. So this article is not that much significance, but from the prelims point of view, it is important because you need to know the definition of the heat wave. Heat wave is said to be occur when the temperature, variation in temperature is 4.5 degrees Celsius to 6.4 degrees Celsius, then it is called as heat wave. Whereas severe heat wave is nothing but when the variation in the temperature is greater than 6.4 degrees Celsius than the previous level, then this is termed as a heat wave with respect to temperature differences or temperature variations. And also when the maximum amount of the temperature reaches 40 degrees in the plains and 30 degrees in the hilly areas, that is also termed as the heat waves. So from the prelims point of view, you need to know what is meant by heat wave at what temperature. So, okay, 40 degrees and the 30 degrees Celsius maximum temperature. This is called as heat wave from the prelims point of view. Now, from the mains point of view, this article is important for the GS3 subject, especially in the disaster management. So, in the disaster management, this article holds very important significance, where in the yesterday's class of mains answer writing, the art of answer writing class, I have told you the way of introduction that must be used especially for the questions from disaster management. In those type of questions from the disaster management, what you need to do is that you need to collect the recent occurrence of information. So let's say here you can directly quote as an example in the introduction or in the main body part, like excess deaths has been reported because of the heat waves in Europe. Okay, so you can quote this example as this example in the answer writing of the disaster management in the GS3 point of view. And you can also relate it with the environment, where anthropogenic causes of damaging the environment and also increase of role of greenhouse gases in causing of the heat waves. So you can quote it and use it in the environment and the disaster management perspective. So this is what you should learn from both prelims and the mains point of view. Now let's move on to next article. So, the next article for today is sharing waters. The next article is sharing waters. Here, I have highlighted this particular article only in order to know this term. Here, it is mentioning about the Tungabhadra Dam. So, this particular dam is being highlighted as lifeline of southern states. So, the lifeline of southern states. So, whenever you got a question on this particular dam, so you can quote or you can directly write this particular thing. Or not only this particular thing, whenever you got a question on the dams, let's say one of the major issue facing nowadays is that aging of the dams. Aging of the dams is the major issue that India is facing right now. So, with respect to aging of the dams, you can mention in the introduction itself, dams are the lifelines of the nation. Okay, so in the introduction, you can quote this word, dams are the lifeline of the nation. Okay, and so here you can use it in the introduction. Now, this is from the mains point of view, you can use this word. Now, from the one more angle is that in the GS2 point of view, what you can use is that cooperative federalism. Cooperative federalism is the word which you can use directly in your answers. Why? Because here, if we have seen, they have mentioned about the three states, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, which are using the waters of this particular thing without having any kind of disputes, any kind of major disputes. So, this kind of cooperation between different countries different states is essential in order to achieve the growth of the country, called as cooperative federalism. So this is the term what you need to remember. So you can use it in the GS3 aging of the dams and also with respect to cooperative federalism in the GS2 perspective. Now, from the prelims point of view and from the mains point of view, what you need to do is that in the prelims point of view, you need to remember the acts with respect to interstate waters. Sharing of the interstate waters, where you need to remember River Boards Act and also interstate water tribunals. Interstate water tribunals with respect to polity. So this is what you need to remember, like how many interstate water tribunals has been implemented till now. Okay, how many are in existence, which is the first interstate water tribunal that has been appointed. So all these kinds of things are important in the prelims point of view. And one more thing is that here they asked about the Tungabhadra. So you need to mention Tungabhadra is the tributary of which river and it flows through which states and any kinds of tributaries that Tungabhadra itself have. So this is what you need to learn from the mapping point of view in the geography. This is what you need to collect. And from the mains point of view, as I already told you, with respect to aging of the dams and using with respect to polity near the cooperative federalism. So these are the some articles, some 7 articles which are important in the exam from today's newspaper. Okay. So please follow. So please see each and every article by separating it with the prelims and the mains point of view, and don't forget to highlight the words which I have given in the green color. Especially try to make a note of it, because those words are having very important significance at the end of the lecture. For example, at the end of the 1 month, if you have got some 50 words, like 50 words where it consists of some 40 words and some 10 types of conclusions where you can use, this will have absolutely extra edge for you over the others. So over 12 months, you almost get 600 or at least 500 new kinds of words which are different from the others, where the examiner will think that this particular person is having the knowledge on the newspaper and he is daily following the newspaper. So try to write down the words which I have been highlighting in the green color for your extra edge. So this is what we should learn from today's Hindu's newspaper analysis. Thank you. Please like, share and subscribe to YUIS News Analysis. And in the today's class, we are coming with the further more art of answer writing sessions, especially for the students who are writing mains this year, and also especially for the students who are struggling in order to write the mains answer properly. In the upcoming classes, we will see the integration of the mains questions also with respect to these particular answers. And thank you. Please subscribe to YUIS Academy. Thank you.